Hello, good morning, everyone.
Hi, Filippo. Good afternoon from the United Kingdom.
Yeah, good afternoon to you as well. I'm always reminded it's not morning for everybody.
Yeah, we're just too far ahead of ourselves here, Filippo.
Very good. Just waiting up 2 more minutes. Um, More people are joining.
Hey, Filippo.
Hello, James.
We've got Lily with us as well. Look.
Oh, bet she can make it this month's meeting. Okay. Oops. I'm paying attention to the admit all button, so I don't leave anybody standing in the room. Looks like, okay. Okay, Mike is here. Perfect. Very good. It's 10:03. I'll keep an eye on the admission. Welcome everybody to our October Operation meeting call with Vulcan. This month we'll have Micah Media as the facilitator of this call. I'll be sharing my screen and we'll get started. As a reminder, this meeting is recorded. I started the call, so I don't think anybody heard that, but we are recording it so if people cannot attend, can view it after. Okay, very well. I'll start sharing my screen, and Mike, feel free to take it on whenever you're ready.
Yep, you got it. Thanks, Filippo. Can't believe it's already October, right? We're almost halfway through.
I know. Before you know it, Christmas is around the corner. Very good.
All right.
Can
You
you all
want
see
to
my
go
screen?
on? Yeah, can you go in presentation mode?
Sure. About now.
All right, wonderful. Welcome again to the October Operations Committee meeting. I wanted to just call out the updated list here. Do we want to mention any new members,
No,
either James or Filippo?
no new members this month, but
I have a little update on that actually when it comes to me. I noticed someone with a hand up. Jason, you got your hand up.
I just want to give an update. I've been representing Pfizer on the operations call since the start, and it's been a really great journey. I've been impacted by a recent restructuring at Pfizer, so I'm going to be transitioning to Bev Bukta, who will be on the operations committee on the go-forward basis for Pfizer. But I just wanted to say it's been amazing to see the work that the teams have done across all the different work streams since the beginning, and it's really proud of what we've accomplished here.
Jason, it's been great to have you, and I know we go back at our Pfizer days, so it's been a wonderful journey, and hopefully we continue in one manner or another in your
Yeah,
future
yeah, it's been
endeavors.
good, Mike.
Good.
And is Amy on too? Like she's been a great partner throughout the entire journey as well.
good.
And welcome, Bev. It's great to have you as well. We go back, uh, with our fire days as well, so it's great to have you being represented. Okay, why don't we go ahead and I think I'll hand it off to you, James.
Thank you, Mike. Um, I've been asked to put a general update here. I think most of you are aware I joined at the beginning of this year, and we've been through a fairly significant transition. Some of those pieces I'm going to try and show you today. But one of the aspects was we were to give more support from the PMO towards the Operations Committee. And in doing that, our hope is that we will be able to transition this meeting to a more webinar format. Our hope is that we can get more people into the meeting. We're having a number of new members on the cusp of joining now, and really we need more manpower to do the incredible things that are being asked of us. There's quite a few new project proposals coming through, which I'll talk about as well. So the first thing is that we intend to change this format. It doesn't mean that we change the agenda at all. Mike and Mariam, as the Operations Committee chairs, will be running the agenda. And any advice or suggestions that you've got for things on the agenda would be very welcome. I'm going to try and do a brief update on the 5 areas that the PMO are working on, which is projects, membership, finance and operations, marketing and events. And these are all driven towards the strategy that we have, which will be circulated soon. But there are 3 key focuses in that I think you're all aware of, and I'll call them out. One is our going global, expanding Vulcan's presence into Europe and into the Asia Pacific. The next key focus that we've had is focusing on adoption. All the great work building these implementation guides needs to be realized by focusing on adoption. And so we've had, that's one of our other focuses. And then the third focus is what's referred to as completing the continuum, which is the research to care continuum, which sort of bookends where we're working at Vulcan. And we want to make sure that we are completing that continuum. We've got the UDP project at one end and the EHR to EDC and possibly real world data at the other end. We want to complete that continuum. So they've been our 3 focuses. So let me give you an update on the projects next. So we've had a new project started, and more details will follow later. Filippo obviously is our program lead and is responsible for supporting all of your project needs. And hopefully you'll have seen the impact that he's had by getting more transparent information available to you with the project management tool that we've got. And you'll see some more there. And we've got many new project proposals currently in the pipeline. We've been asking you as the Operations Committee, but also going out to events like the event that we've just been at, I'm going to tell you in a moment, where we were basically asking for what projects, what implementation guides, what needs to be worked on next. And so as we start to get those more projects in, the tens of people that we have on this call need to be hundreds of people, I think. We need to get a number of people, hence the webinar approach. So my next update is on membership. We're at 52 members, I think, now. This year, we've had a focus on creating a stronger connection to our members. We've deployed a CRM so that we can keep contact and start generating a pipeline of potential new members. As we said, there's no new members to actually announce this month. We've had a few this year, but we've got a number of active leads that are coming both in agencies, not-for-profit, and also pharmaceutical companies, contract research organizations, and other organizations that want to provide manpower and support for the projects and help steer and guide where we go. And although I'm not able to say anything officially at the moment, I am hopeful that I will be able to share some good news from the EMA before the end of the year. I've just been in Europe working with TEDAS and met a number of people in the European health data space, and we have huge opportunity and are already having impact there, and we want to leverage that some more. So membership, it will be growing and is growing already, obviously, this year, but will be growing more than that. Finance and operations, budgeting has been underway. Some of you are aware of that who are involved in projects, because we went back to you to see what demands for 2026 should have. We've also, the budgeting process is to go through the executive committee of HL7 first, and then the fine-tuning of that by your steering board. The committee of people representing all of the members will be allocating that into the particular areas they want to do to focus on delivering that. But there's a lot of activity with attending events and putting ourselves out there and potentially having a VIB 2 next year as well, because the VIB was such a successful way of demonstrating use cases. I already mentioned the agenda development. If you can feed back what other things you want on the agenda, that would be great. I've now got two for the marketing and the events section. I've got two more slides. If you can move on to the next slide, please, Filippo. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a marketing update, although we've got some more later, I think. But what I wanted just to draw your attention to was we've transitioned to a new provider for the website. This is not a reinvention of it. Primarily, it was to move to a content delivery network, a CDN, because the website was slow in different regions of the world. And if we're going to be global and having people accessing it from all over, it needed to be in a better organization that can support that for us. In doing that transition, we made some corrections, some updates, and made it more functional. We didn't come to you as members to discuss that yet. Our plan is to do that next year. This is just to create a refreshed design and a refurbishment, if you like, to get it out there working. But I'd encourage you to go and look at that. And we've connected it in with all of the appropriate connections. You can get to Confluence from there. You can get to the project management tool from there. You can look under your projects. We didn't come out to each of the projects to ask for your information. We leveraged information that was available. So if there's anything wrong on your pages, let us know. But next year we will go through a process of saying, what do you want on the website? What do you need it to look like? But I think you'll see that it's already a significant step up from where it was. And we had a lot of people hitting the website after the last event we were at. I'll draw your attention as well to the YouTube channel that we've put in there. What we want to do is capture these meetings and other events attendance that we've got, because we're really trying to generate a lot more activity, not just in member organizations, but in the people that are working for those member organizations. We have 260 or so people that get invited to this meeting each month. My intention is to have that 2,600. I'm optimistic, probably, but also we've got a lot of work going there because we've got a lot of work coming on. We need those people involved and engaged. So the YouTube channel is accessible from here. You can see in the top right-hand corner of this picture, there's a link to LinkedIn, there's a link to YouTube, and there's a link to Confluence, as well as other links throughout that. So I'd encourage you to look at that and give us feedback. Yeah, thank you very much. Give us feedback on that. And the YouTube channel will start to develop. It's empty at the moment, but we've got material ready to go up there, especially from this last event. It's being edited and clipped, so you can find your way through it easily and pick up certain parts of the agenda that you want to go and look at. So there's more to come on that. Rachel's going to talk about newsletters and interest groups later. Filippo's going to talk about listservs later in this meeting. But I want to just draw your attention to LinkedIn. When I first joined, we celebrated getting to 1,000 followers on LinkedIn. That's really not good enough for an organization of this size and of this reach. I want that to be significantly more than that. We've already had a 20 to 30% increase in that. And so I would encourage you to share anything that you see on there that's of interest to you, and also get involved in calls for putting information onto LinkedIn. We want to put real content on there. We want, valuable information from the projects, and we'll help you put that on there. And what I would recommend that you do, this is from our marketing experts, is that you comment with at least 12 words. This is not just me arbitrarily picking a number out of there. This is apparently what drives the algorithm. And I will be personally very satisfied if we get into the multiple thousands by the end of the year. And organizations our size should have 15 to 20,000 followers. And as soon as we've got that, you've got a really good resource to go out and seek help and seek support and share your ideas and share the great work that you're doing. So that's what we're doing there. So I could go on for hours about that. Let's move on. That's good. So next slide, please, Filippo. In fact, I think it's 2 slides you need to go down.
Yeah, events update.
Yeah, so we have a new events lead that's joined the project management organization, the program management, the PMO, the program management organization, and she hit the ground running with our first event. Our strategy had not been to run events on our own in the first instance, because we're not an events organization. We do all of our events with HL7 primarily, like the connectathons and things, and we rely on their organizational skills for that. But if we're going to go out to our community, the Vulcan community, the people in that research to care continuum, we'll need to do our own events. And so we've looked at partnering organizations, and we were lucky enough to be selected to partner with Citra, the organization that put TEDAS2 together, which is towards the European health data space. And we've just come back from Copenhagen, and we had an incredibly successful event, really positive feedback, 250 people in the room, over 600 online live, and it's going to be available for people to watch. We're going to put it on our YouTube channel as well, and break it down so people can see our components. And so we had a really good, good result from that, and I had some fantastic members sitting on the stage and talking very positively about the impact they've got, and that really went down well with the European health data space workers that are working in that. So in our aim to get a global organization that's impacting globally with data standards, this was a really good step. So we are looking at consolidating that collaboration, and we've got some other options. In fact, I've got some really exciting things in development that will put us on a very big stage in Europe. So if you could go to the next slide, please, Felipe.
Sure.
The next one that's on our agenda, we're calling the APAC Summit. We need to go around the globe, and I think I mentioned this before. We, as an organization, we've been present at the Japanese Association of Medical Information for a number of years, but what we're doing this year is we're establishing a bigger community there. Our colleagues that work in Japan find it very difficult to connect to our operating committee because it's in a very different time zone. And what we're endeavoring to do, if we can get the support from the community there, is to set up a satellite operations committee. Satellite means that your operating committee chairs will be involved in setting this up and being connected with it. It's not going to be a standalone one, but to work on Asia Pacific specific implementation guides and tailoring of existing implementation guides. So in doing that, in setting that up and having that meeting arranged there, we've also been invited into a workshop with the PMDA. So this is the first step in hopefully getting the third major agency involved in the membership of this organization. Early days yet, obviously we're just starting the conversations now, but this, we could in a year's time be talking about good news coming from the PMDA, hopefully. So we're working towards doing that, and this is an event that's happening, and we've just heard from one of our Pfizer members. It's a very long-time supporter from Pfizer, Mika-san, who's helping us do that, as well as from Johnson & Johnson, Yoichi-san, and a number of other people there. So we've got some good members helping us establish that there, and I'm hopeful that that will be a really good finish to 2025, and we'll be having a launch event at some point next year. If you can go on to the third slide for me, Filippo, thank you. So in our attempt to complete the continuum, I mentioned this before, I've asked for members to volunteer to help with this, but we've been selected to run the Vulcan HL7 Fire Pavilion, which has not existed before, at Fuse US Connect. Fuse had 700 people in attendance in their US Connect last year, and I anticipate it's going to be bigger this year, and we've got 2 days to fill of content that we're going to be responsible for. And this is getting into the people that are using from the protocol down to the other end, even down to EDC, EHR to EDC people. And a lot of people in that space haven't heard of FHIR and haven't heard of the great work that we're doing. And so this is an opportunity to do that. So Felipe, if you can flick to the next slide, you'll see on the Fuse website now, we've scoped out the high-level structure of what we want our event to look like. We're over 2 days. We're going to talk about, it's called Vulcan Unveiled HL7. What is the accelerator? How are we connecting standards? What strategy you've got? Who are the community? We're going to bring our members onto a stage to talk about what they're doing. I've then got 2 90-minute sessions. So 6 of our 8 projects could fit into that. If all 8 want to fit in, we'll make a space for it. But 6 of them can have a half hour there to talk to that community. And so I want to try and get that happening. We also have an evening, a late afternoon evening networking and open discussion Vulcan Connect event. And in that event, we will be having members standing around having people come up to them talking about their projects or how they're involved. And then on the next day, we're going into the Vulcan interoperability bridge, looking at the use cases from that. There's a lot of interest in those. And hopefully by then we will have been significantly advanced in VIB2 for 2026. And so we'll be able to read out some of that. We also have a panel debate that we're going to get some of our key members on the stage talking about the SDO landscape and where we fit in that, because there's obviously a lot of conversation to have there. And then finally, we're going to do an interactive workshop about what problems should the industry address next. And the subtle message there is which implementation guides you want us to work on. So as you can see, we've got, as I said, there's other events that are in the pipeline being developed at the moment, but I just wanted you to be aware of these. And I'm looking for volunteers. You saw the email address to send to join the organizing committee to get this content filled in. This is the pegs that we put out for you. You can change the pegs if you like, but also we're relying on our members to put that content in there. So I think that's me done, Filippo.
I think there is one more slide. Surprise.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is a reminder for everyone.
Oh, yes, Hugh asked for this. This is right. So the UDP project monthly meeting, we wanted to put this out there to make sure everyone was aware of that. And also I would say to all of you, because we don't have access, our access are to the member organizations and the people that have subscribed to the emails, please share this information around your organizations. Anyone interested in utilizing the digital protocol and getting involved in even just listening to the monthly forum that they have, it would be really good to get on with that. So again, this slide is here, and this slide will be available for you to look at afterwards, I'm sure. Thank you for that, Filippo.
Yeah, and the meeting is next week, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern. All right, very good. Oh, perfect. Next, it's my topic, Vulcan listservs. Not sure how many of you are familiar with listservs, but it's a service from HL7, which behaves sort of like Outlook when you create these distribution lists. Only they are aimed to specific projects in our case. We are aiming to actually add this to the website soon. If you look at this picture, we have a little mock-up on how it's going to look. We're going to be adding a button within the page. It might look a little different, but it's going to say something along the lines of subscribe for project updates. So you can click on it and attach yourself to the project. The idea is that we would like everybody that goes to our project that likes to learn more about it or get more involved to click on the link and associate themselves with the one project without getting too much information. Sometimes you sign up for something and you end up getting all these extra emails that you don't care, and that's why we created a listserv for each specific project. So if you're only trying to learn more about adverse events, that's all we're going to be emailing you on, is adverse event specific updates. These notifications will be added both on the HL7 side. So when a meeting is coming up for the project, you'll be alerted that a meeting is coming up. And the project co-leads will also use the same channel to communicate project updates and some special news about the project. And the good news is that in each email at the bottom, there's the unsubscribe link. So if it's very easy to unsubscribe. So it's not one of those things where you add yourself to it and then you're on for perpetuity. You have an easy way out. So it's exciting. We got this working. We actually tested everything is working all right. We had to do a lot of tweaks to make it work the way we wanted. And either this week, depending on when the link goes live, or early next week, you'll start seeing the links on the website. But very soon you start seeing them on the HL7 page under the listserv. For Vulcan, you'll see all of them available. And again, we anticipate to have one listserv for each project. And then, of course, we'll always have the main Vulcan listserv for general marketing and news updates. So that's for that. Let me see. Okay, next in line we have Apex, which is our new project that got approved, and we already had our first meeting, and I think this is our third meeting coming up, right, Craig? Craig is the
Yeah.
co-lead for the project, and he's going to give us a quick presentation on the project.
Yeah, sure. So this is, as Philippa mentioned, so the idea here is we have a pretty messy picture with regulatory affairs right now. And whether it's pharmaceutical products, whether it's medical devices, vet drugs, it's the same story, where throughout the world you have the way health authorities or the way that drug companies or research hospitals communicate with the regulators. Some regulators have a portal, some have an FTP site, some have secure email, some have email. Some, believe it or not, still use a mail, and it's like you're sending physical media through the mail. And then this is how you exchange data with them. And then when the regulators have questions, quite often that comes back in email. And a lot of companies are not happy about that because, of course, you could have potentially have proprietary data coming back through unsecure email. So it's that security aspect that's an issue. And also this kind of haphazard approach to having all these different methods of exchanging information. And all these methods are really old school. So the idea here is to create an API first framework, use the modern web technology and everything that FHIR is built on, and apply that consistently across all the regulators and give them a mechanism of exchanging information with the companies that they interact with that is based on web standards, is secure, and is a common framework for everybody to build on. So the IG that we're going to deliver in time for the September 2026 ballot, it'll describe three things. So one, as usual, it'll describe the profiles, but the profile will focus on the envelope. So we want to say, okay, we want to harmonize how we exchange the information. So it would have a common envelope, and this is something we've discussed in the last meeting, is that we would set up a task. And then that task would be the envelope, and then it would contain payload, whether that's FHIR application forms, FHIR drug labeling, UDP, FHIR CMC data, whatever it may be. That task would serve as the envelope, and it would carry all the payload, all the content that is being exchanged. The second thing it'll describe is the API capabilities. And then the third thing it'll describe some kind of architecture. And of course, it'll be open source or kind of a recommended approach. Because that's something, as we discuss FHIR and labeling and UDP with the regulators, one of the number one things they ask is, okay, they're on board with harmonization, they're on board with FHIR. Then the first thing they ask is, okay, well, what do I buy? How do I implement this thing? And so they're looking for a product that they can take off the shelf, install, and okay, away we go. So this is something that we've learned from the API project. So hence that kind of third piece is to recommend an architecture. And of course, we'll keep it open source so we can stay neutral, but it's to give their IT departments some kind of direction to say, okay, here's a recommended architecture you can start with. Maybe some will take it as is, and so maybe some will, use that as guide and build their own architecture. So those will be the three, kind of core elements of the implementation guide. And Philippa, if you go to the next slide, just to give you an idea of the scale that we're dealing with and the potential impact that this will have. So on the left-hand side of this screen, this is FDA is fantastic about this. So they post a lot of statistics. Some regulators post similar things, but it's not as transparent, not as detailed as this from the FDA. So there's variations of this theme going on throughout the world. But FDA has, obviously is the biggest and they have the most volume. But just to give you an idea of how many transactions the FDA processes in a year. So, we're in October and FDA has already, processed 5.6 million transactions. So that's just the initial transaction. That's not counting the transactions coming back from the FDA. So think each one of those transactions could involve one or more questions from the FDA to the company. And they ask you questions about the drug, about your drug labeling, and then there's this back and forth. So multiply that 5.6 million times, another, another, higher levels, because there's more questions coming from the FDA. And then for every question, there's a response back from the company. So there's many more transactions than you see actually going on there. And then on the right-hand side, the FDA has posted some of their metrics. And you look at the metrics and you see it's like up to a gigabyte is still taking 40 minutes total, going from like point of receipt to receiving the thing. So this is an example of like, why is this so slow? We have much more modern, much more faster ways of processing this information. And this is just the exchange. So forget about the actual processing. So once we have Apex, once we have the APIs and the recommended architecture, the idea is we'll be able to exchange these transactions in a harmonized way, and we'll be able to exchange them in real time. And then, depending on the infrastructure and the architecture, real time could be, not just seconds, but sub-seconds. You look at some of the things that has happened in the finance industry with like high frequency trading and instant payments, and there's just a steady progression in speed and processing. And of course, with AI and AI agents that will facilitate more real-time processing. So the idea is to go from, instead of measuring the time frame, the time scale that we're dealing with in hours and days, we want to bring that down to seconds and sub-seconds. So that's the goal of where we're headed here, or an additional goal of where we're headed. The next slide. Yeah, and this is where we're headed here. So if we can set up APIs on either end, so you have the company, whether it's a pharma company, whether it's a research hospital, clinic, contract manufacturer, whatever, and then you have the regulators on the other side. The idea here is they would use Apex and the profile and the tasks and the transactions, and all the data would be structured and they'd exchange between them. So if you start to structure the data and you can use the APIs to communicate in real time, so that middle section is now operating in real time. So what happens now is that puts pressure on upstream of those business processes to say, well, if the middle piece is operating in real time, why is everything else slowing down to human speed? So that's why as you start to take that real time aspect that has now been applied to the middle, you start to spread it out throughout the business process and say, okay, well, this middle piece is now operating at AI speed. So I now need to use AI and agents to start processing the information at AI speed. And then now you start to look at the entire business process, say, how can I keep this thing moving at AI speed as long as possible? And you only have human intervention where it's necessary, where it's really needed, and where it really provides value. And then eventually you get to a state where almost the whole regulatory end-to-end life cycle is operating in a real-time or near real-time state. So just to give you an example of an overview of the project, is kind of that middle piece of that end-to-end workflow. But this project itself will have a wider impact on the whole end-to-end process. And I think it'll help our other Vulcan projects like UDP and API, because you've structured the documents, the content. Now we've structured the means of exchanging that content. So the two will go hand in hand. And that applies to adverse event reporting and any other exchange going on with regulators and companies, or between companies even. We'll be able to use it. So yeah, so when I stop there, in interest of time, and I don't know if you want to take questions now or later on.
We can take them at the end unless you need to drop.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much for that update, Craig. Next, we have interest groups with Rachel Warnock. Are you here, Rachel?
I am indeed, just coming on camera. Hello, everyone. So I want to talk about a few marketing initiatives in general and then talk about the interest groups. So James did an amazing job of kind of giving a precursor lineup to this. Obviously, the unveiling of the new website was really exciting. But one of the things that I've been working on is kind of building our audience, right? Building our LinkedIn presence and building our engagement. We have, for the past few months, been looking for individuals to spotlight on social media, and we haven't gotten a super enthusiastic number of volunteers for that, which has kind of shifted us some of our priorities. So we are shifting into prioritizing a monthly newsletter. This was something that I was hoping to start a little bit later on once we had more content to share, but I think we really need to work on building that engagement. And so we're going to start proactively engaging with our membership every single month through this newsletter. It might be a little lean to get started just because, again, we don't always have the most amount of content every single month, but this newsletter is going to be a plea for engagement. It's going to be, here's what's going on, here's what's coming up, and by the way, these are your membership benefits. As part of your member benefit, you get to be spotlighted on LinkedIn. You get to submit proposals for projects. You get to engage in these projects. And so we want to remind people what their member benefits are so that they can take advantage of them and continue to build engagement within the Vulcan community. We just set up a new email marketing solution so that way we could really concretely build a newsletter base and have a really succinct and clear way of communicating with our membership. Previously, we'd kind of just been working out of Outlook and sending a lot of blind carbon copy emails. This will be a more professional templated solution where we can also gauge met open rates and other KPIs. One of the first things that we're going to be announcing through our monthly newsletter is that, like James mentioned, we're looking for thought leadership submissions for events like Fuse. Fuse is coming up next year, and we're going to have thought leadership submissions opening very soon. So I think you can expect to see emails around that in November when we're really going to be beating the drums there. Oh, sorry, I can take that question. Maybe.
Sorry, Rachel, it was for
Sorry, that
Craig
might,
from the
yeah.
previous section. If Craig can
Okay, yeah, no
pick that up.
problem. Thank
Sorry.
you. I just wanted to make sure but yes. Okay,
Thanks for being on the ball.
I'm gonna keep talking about marketing. So LinkedIn ads, we really want to grow our LinkedIn followers, as James mentioned. So one of the things that we had done kind of in the past month, a little bit in September, a little bit in October, we built some targeted ad groups, some targeted audiences. We ran a couple different ads. Some of them were boosted posts and some of them were more traditional ads. We've gained almost 100 new followers between the two, and we learned some things as well. Traditional ads performed very well. We got a very high click-through rate, so that audience was very well built. But ultimately, the boosted posts netted more followers. And this is something that we see on meta platforms as well. That's kind of something that we suspected would be the case, but we wanted to, one, build out the audience so that we would have it for future use, test to see that it was good, and then also verify that a boosted post would get more followers than a traditional ad. So now that we've kind of vetted out these audiences, we're going to be able to retarget them through boosted posts. If you go to our LinkedIn today, actually, you'll see a really great recap video of Copenhagen with all sorts of pictures on it, a nice message. It's a little video reel. And we are boosting that now to these targeted audiences that we have built and verified. So we're hoping to capture more of those individuals as actual followers. Since boosted posts are our best way of getting new followers and growing our audience, we need really good content for those boosted posts. content like spotlights and thought leadership, right? Which leads me back to my call to the group that we need good social media spotlights. So again, this is part of your membership benefits. What we do for these spotlights is we do an email interview with you on the topic of your choice. Like, what are you wanting to advance? What project are you working on? What mission and sentiment are you wanting to advance in the space of interoperability and fire and clinical research and the research to care continuum? And then we write a really nice article, LinkedIn post on this. It's something that is co-posted between you as an individual and Vulcan, and then we boost that. So both you as an individual and Vulcan get boosted visibility around this. So it's a really cool program that you can take advantage of as part of your Vulcan membership, and it helps us grow while also giving more visibility to your project and program. So that's something that is available. And so please keep that in mind. We'd love nominations, even if it's a self-nomination, right? Like, raise your hand for this. It's a really cool thing that we're offering. And I think that is everything on social media. If I can ask for the next slide, Filippo. This is another thing that we're looking for. We are wanting to launch interest groups to connect the Vulcan community and give us a space to really communicate and stay up to date on projects and initiatives. But we need individuals to kind of raise their hands and say, I'll be in charge of this specific program. It's a low lift. All we're asking is that you're on Slack and that you are the designated point person, that if somebody new wants to join the program, or if somebody has questions around the program, you're the person that they can come to, right? I don't anticipate that this is a weekly tax on your time even, but that you're kind of able to be present in the Slack community. We anticipate that programs will go through ebbs and flows of communication where something is happening, and so that week or that month there might be a little bit more buzz in the channel, but then as things are percolating, or maybe they're working on or waiting on the implementation team to build the solution, then things might be a little bit more quiet, right? So we are using Slack as the platform just because we wanted it to be accessible for the vast majority of people. We wanted it to be intuitive. Most people are already using Slack in their daily professional work lives. And then we would have dedicated channels for each interest group. So once we get enough people kind of raising their hands and saying, yes, I will be in charge of this specific project, then we can get this launched. And this is a way of bringing people in and helping to demonstrate value before they join as members. When we're looking at bringing people into the Vulcan community, yes, they can sign up for a newsletter. Yes, they can follow us on LinkedIn, but that's a little bit of a one-way engagement, right? We are communicating to them, but there's no real tangible way for them to communicate back to us, right? So these interest groups are going to be free to join whether you're a member or not. So you can look at the project, you can understand the value of the project, and of course then hopefully, once realizing that value, get involved with Vulcan as a member. But it allows us to have a two-way communication with not only our own members, but prospects and individuals who are looking to come in and be a part of our community. So please, if you're interested in these, we'd really, really like to get this up and running. My contact information is at the bottom of this slide. It's just my name at Vulcan, at hl7vulcan.org. So please reach out to me if you're interested in leading one of these interest groups. And that is what I have for us today.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Filippo.
Okay, now it's time for questions. I know that, let's see, we have some questions for Craig. And I see, Craig, you have started to respond. You want to maybe voice those responses?
Yeah, sure. So the way we plan to design it is that each transaction will have a unique identifier. So you can identify the discrete transaction. And then, of course, certain transactions are related. So it's almost like a parent-child relationship. So there's a set of them. So we would have a set ID that would allow you to group related transactions. So that is just the transaction itself. And then for the use case that you're referring to, the trial ID, we could incorporate additional support for metadata to say, okay, this transaction is about this subject, and that subject could be the trial identifier. So you could say, this is about a clinical trial. This is the identifier for that clinical trial. This is who it's from. And you'd have this context information, administrative information that would go with it. And we're taking some lessons learned from the UMC's, it's developing a workflow for assigning global drug identifiers, and they are setting up a subscription service. So we might be able to, in this use case that you've mentioned about the trial ID, that might be an interesting use case where, let's say, the regulator, whether it's FDA or MHRA or whoever, could set up a workflow, could set up a subscription service, and you would be notified as things reach certain milestones. Or it could publish that information to a website if it reaches certain milestones. But I think it would be possible. I think there may be different layers. So there may be one layer which is like in FHIR and the data, and then there may be another application layer where some intelligence lives and can publish the data if it's appropriate at different times.
I think, James, you have a question?
Yeah, I've got a question for Rachel, actually. Sorry, Rachel, I think you did a great job presenting that. My question to you is, how much help would our copywriting agency in DC, what's their experience like, and how much help would they be able to give to someone who's just got an idea that they want to share?
Yeah. No, that's a great question, James. So we are working with a professional ghostwriting agency to help write these spotlights. They are two former healthcare IT journalists. They have over 10 years of experience being journalists, specifically in the healthcare technology space, having worked with payers, providers, pharmaceuticals. I think they actually have an active contract with Pfizer right now, in addition to a number of other organizations. They left journalism to start their own business. So now they have been ghostwriters for over 5 years, working with some of the biggest names in healthcare. And they are absolute experts at teasing out the story. They're used to working with people who are not marketers. They're used to working with people who are just technologists or people with ideas, right? And I'm also going to be involved in this. I'm a marketing communications individual, and I've spent a lot of time in communications myself. So between myself and this ghostwriting agency, we're going to be able to help tease out that story, where we'll be formulating these questions to really position you and your project in the best light possible. So you're not going to be alone in this. If you want to have a call with me to get things kind of rolling, that's a possibility. I can help kick things off with you, and then we'll bring in the ghostwriting agency. We'll align on the questions that are going to be asked, so that way you're 100% comfortable with everything. If you have a marketing department that needs to review the piece before it gets published, I completely understand. I used to be that person. I still am that person who reviews all that content before it goes out the door. So I help you usher the piece through that process before it gets promoted. So don't worry, your hand is held, and we work hard to position you and your thought leadership in the best light possible.
And it won't need much information. I mean,
No.
even the presentation that's just been given about the new project, that could be the
Exactly.
bones of this. And the benefit is not only that your project or the work that you're working on will get more visibility, but the other benefit, of course, is that we will be able to stimulate interest in Vulcan and get more members. Then when we come back to this, it's not my target this year has been on member organizations, but the reality is the key thing that we need is more manpower, more people like you willing to turn up and volunteer and help and get these things delivered, because there's a huge opportunity out there, and we need more people to do it. So really, if you're sitting there thinking, I've got an idea, just have a go. Please
Yes.
have a go, because we want the content. There's no good us just putting adverts out. That doesn't have any value. But yeah, thank you. Over to you, Felipe.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, very good. I've just been monitoring chat and
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, and I saw your question, Felipe. I mean, this is the membership fees that come in fuel the activities that we're putting in for you to support you as members. So obviously there's no cost to you involved in that. Filippo, that was a good question. There's no, all of the price of that is built into your organization's contribution of manpower or money. That's how we're funding that. So there's no payment for anyone to do that. Just volunteer, and it's a way of us trying to take this organization to the next level as a professional, not-for-profit community of people focused on HL7 fire.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification, James. It was one of the first things I thought, as being a business owner, somebody says, I'll bring you a journalist, 10 plus years experience. First question is, how much? Great. That's good to know. Again, thanks everybody. I don't see any more questions. Last chance. Anyone wants to ask a question, or if not, you can always find us, after the meeting is done. I don't see anything else.
I'm used to Teams. It was easy to find the put your hand up. Here I had to click around. It's in the React.
I know, I'm looking everywhere.
Yeah.
It's floating everywhere. All right, well, it looks like this is it. So this concludes the meeting for October. Thank you, everyone. That again, as a reminder, this meeting is recorded, and we'll be sending this out to the other users that couldn't participate. Thank you, everyone, for this month's call, and we'll talk to you at the next month's meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.